Hi friends, welcome back to the garden. My name is Kristen and this is Growing Zone 9B. So today it's kind of a little bit chilly for me personally. It's 70 degrees outside. Normally we're in like high 80s, 90s, but we've got a nice like breeze blowing through, which is good for garden and planting right now. So I got some asparagus in. Remember, my last set of asparagus got destroyed in the storm when we had a hurricane not that long ago. Those little babies got absolutely wiped off the face of this earth, so I needed to start over with some asparagus. So I've got two different asparagus here. I have Mary Washington and Conover's Colossal. So these are both from Baker Creek Seeds. I can tell you that these say the ideal temperature is 65 to 75 degrees. It takes 14 to 21 days for these seeds to come up. Now it does say like planting space is about 18 inches apart. What I actually like to do is just kind of spread the seeds and let them grow. I don't necessarily follow a certain technique or space them out in any certain way. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to plant them over here in this garden area where I have got my beans growing and some watermelons and some other like vining plants. I could put them right in this area, but what happens is that asparagus act like a tree almost. They are basically like a form of a tree, and so they will bury some roots super deep, and I want to keep them kind of in a little bit of a shaded area and somewhere where if they start to act like a tree, they're not really going to affect me or how I garden. I don't want them over in my main type of beds that I have over near the pool area. So I'm going to plant those today. I'm just going to plant a couple. I don't really think that you need a lot of asparagus. Some people really like asparagus, but I like asparagus, but I don't eat asparagus all the time. Now you can definitely juice asparagus. I really prefer it to be grilled. I'm reading this to you guys, you do your own research, but asparagus is high or rich in vitamin A, C, and K. It's an excellent source of potassium and fiber. It contains antioxidants. It also contains prebiotics for nourishing beneficial gut bacteria. Now that's what I'm most interested in, is that, you know, that it does the prebiotic. It's also low in sodium. It contains potassium, which helps to lower blood pressure. And of course it's fiber, you know, so I think that that's really important. So I'm going to go ahead and plant a couple of those today over in this area. And then the next one that I'm going to be planting a couple of, not too many, is the Royal Golden Watermelon. It's a yellow watermelon. I think it's going to be beautiful. I'd like to give it a try. It says the ideal temperature is 70 to 95. I had already planted some little sweet watermelons, just the tiny baby ones. So I wanted to give that a try. And then I have this trellis over here behind me that arches up. And so I have grown these before. And this is the moonflower. They come out at night and they look absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to go through the bed. I have this area right here that kind of needs to be addressed. And I'm going to be planting those for you guys today. All right, so here's our moonflower. As you can see, my fingernails are still purple from pulling the mulberries. Here's the seeds. They kind of look like corn kernels. I'm just gonna go ahead and plant them right here. I'm gonna plant a couple. They grow fairly well here. Like I said, I have grown these before. I'm gonna put the other one way over here and let it grow up my trellis. I think that that's really a beautiful place for them to start growing. All right, so right here in this area is where I'm just gonna plant a couple of these asparagus. I just wanna kind of test this area and see if this is actually gonna work out fairly well. These seeds are fairly tiny, They're just little baby black seeds. They kind of look like pepper almost, but a little bit smaller. So the smaller the seed, the less you want to like put a hole into the ground, because you got to give them the opportunity to kind of spread themselves out, and you also want them to not have a difficult time sprouting. And so, like I said, these will get very tree-like, so you just kind of got to monitor them and where your placement is. And I don't really mind if they get kind of out of control over here in this area, but like I said, I don't want too many of them because I don't really expect my fiance to eat them. Now my parents will eat them, my nephews will eat them, so that's a good thing, but nobody else is really going to eat them. But I thought, you know, if you just add it into maybe like a stir fry or something. A lot of people like asparagus. Asparagus to me is give or take. I know that I can grow them, so that's why I'm putting them in the ground. And you can eat asparagus raw. They actually taste much better raw. I might actually go over here and plant some more in this area, because this area over here, as you can see, stays fairly shady. You see over in that area, that black-eyed Susan keeps everything nice and shady. And since this requires really a cool ground, I want to make sure that I can get them in some shade. But while we're over here, I'm going to go ahead and plant just 1 or 2 of these golden watermelons. The royal golden. I pulled 3 seeds out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and plant one here, and I will plant one right here. So now we're done with the golden watermelon. The hope with that golden watermelon is that they'll just run over there through my Mexican sunflowers and just kind of have a safe haven in that area, and hopefully avoid the eye of birds and other pests that will really enjoy having some watermelon. So, all right, so over here in the shaded area, I have some arugula popping up. Y'all know that I love arugula. I will grow arugula pretty much anywhere that I can put some arugula, even in the summertime, and that's what's happening. We are in the spring, summer, and so I just plant arugula all over. I'm gonna go ahead in this area, and I'm just going to throw in a couple of asparagus over here. It will not hurt the arugula. And I think this might be a really great spot to just get a couple of asparagus growing. Last time that I actually planted asparagus, I kind of just put them wherever they would grow, like just kind of just spread the seeds all over. And I was perfectly fine with that personally. Some people like to be a little more organized than I am, and that's fine. That's what I'm saying. Gardening is really up to how you like to grow. You don't have to necessarily follow a certain path. A lot of people are like, I don't have a green thumb. I'm showing you guys that you don't have to have a green thumb to just grow. You can just put stuff sometimes wherever, and that's kind of how nature would do it. Nature would spread her seeds out when the wind is blowing like it is right now. They would get picked up in the wind or taken by an animal and distributed across the forest ground, and then that species of plant would begin to grow. And that's kind of how you have to think about growing in a garden. It doesn't always have to be lined up and in a row like you see commercial gardeners doing. As a home grower, you can just do what makes you happy. And I think sometimes people forget that, and they get very caught up in how commercial producers are growing their food. And so I don't want you all to be thinking about growing being very difficult or having to have a lot of grow boxes or rows. Now, the more grow boxes and rows that you have, obviously the more food you're gonna get. So again, do what's best for you, but you can have a green stock and start to grow some of these items. All right, so on this back side here, I think what I'm gonna end up doing is I may just go ahead and finish off my moonflowers over here, my giant moonflowers. Like I said, they're beautiful at night. So once these pop up, I have grown them before. Once these pop up, I will bring you out here. They look super cool in a black light too. So when I come out here and I'm looking for bugs, those moonflowers certainly pop and just look gorgeous. So consider growing them in the garden. They're not a consumable plant. It's not a consumable flower, but they are very beautiful to look at, especially in the evening when the moon hits them. They are just gorgeous. So that is pretty much it for today. I am so excited that you guys have joined me. I know this video is pretty short and I often have fairly long videos, but I just wanted to get out here and get a couple of things planted. And that's really what gardening's about, is you don't have to feel like you do everything at one time. You can absolutely just do a couple of things and watch them pop up. That's also really good too when you're just kind of sporadically growing like that, because like you can see that I already have beans and I have other items that are growing in the garden right now. And so it will allow for me, like here's some squash down here. It will allow for me to have picking throughout the season. So I don't have to just get, you know, 1,000 beans that are coming up at one time. I may get 100 beans and then later I'll get another 100. So it just kind of depends on how you like to grow. But for me as a working person, I need space and I need time and I need to kind of just do things that aren't always like in one day. So that's what works best. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you that this is something that you all can be doing too. Don't feel overwhelmed by the process. Just take baby steps when learning how to grow. All right, until next time, love one another, be kind, and Pumpkin and I will see you real soon.